Footprints that the murder have left on the sand. While you are in time, I see food for our ambition, payment for our imagination. And I ask myself, when will it end? When will it end? It is great to see universe that it is not bountiful at once. Simply because in his quest for success, nothing stands in man's way. All rivers run dry. Soon the earth will fly. Mountains will be not long ahead. Really think of it. I've already seen this world have come divided between race, color, creed, and class. And some of the things the scripture predicts should fully come to pass. Soil that wouldn't bear children, making children to be a part of this growing mass. And I ask, if this is progress, how long will it last?
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good morning to all and sundry. Yes, you caught us napping there, but it was due to circumstances beyond our control. We ran into, of course, a technical problem this morning, but we were able, between both of us, to be able to solve it. And I think that is progress in itself, of course, and maybe fortuitous that the Calypso progress by, of course, the late King Austin may be very appropriate at this point in time. But that being as it may, and Murphy's Law, as it is unpredictable, that is to say that something, if it has to go wrong, it will at the worst possible time. But of course, once you have the enthusiasm, the tenacity, the grit, the knowledge, the know-how, and the determination, certainly you are going to conquer, or should I say, overcome all challenges and difficulty. And indeed, Trinidad and Tobago will, at the end of the day, conquer all of the challenges that had been, of course, perpetrated artificially on us by a group of individuals who clearly ought not to have been in office in the first place, but now that they are there, they have, of course, demonstrated uncanny ability not only to be disastrous in terms of policies and programs, but also for Trinidad and Tobago. That being as it may, of course, let me at the same time, we have quite a number of issues to discuss. But of course, the first thing is Basdeo Panday. I think it's important that we look at that, and to conclude, of course, that particular series. Don't forget, of course, what we'll do this morning. Dr. Khalid and I, as agreed, after, of course, he would have given his salutations, we are going to, of course, just play Makila Panday's address alone, or should I say, her very emotional, emotional, of course, experience with her father, and I think that should encapsulate what we know of Basdeo Panday publicly. Of course, there are others who may be of a different view, but what we want to disabuse one time is that those videos that are circulating to try to, of course, castigate or to malign or to reduce the significance of the current political leader of the party that he founded, even though, of course, there was very little, if any at all, recognition at that funeral of the political leader, simply because of personal, should I say, I don't want to say vendetta, because I don't want to inflate the situation, but certainly, let's say, people who believe that they have been emotionally robbed one way or another. Let me put it that way. All right, and this rob here doesn't mean, abandoned. It means, of course, aberration, robbed. Right? So, that being as it may, of course, we have a bumper program for you. Of course, we have several issues. Of course, the Integrity Commission is under fire. And, of course, Dr. Rowley's, of course, should I say, vitriolic attack on the Integrity Commission, making some very spurious and, should I say, for a prime minister, on prime ministerial assertions. And then, of course, we have a very minuscule things like their priority as far as dress swear or dress code for entering an office is concerned. But the minister saw it fit, of course, to raise that, but she was unaware and engaged, of course, in what I consider to be, if not misbehavior in public office, certainly unethical behavior, when, of course, the number 3 Alexandra Street premises owned by Al-Rarias and family, a contract was entered into by the ministry under which she, Miss Alison West, is in charge of, and there were no, of course, contractual arrangement, but they moved in. And of course, we're talking about $700,000 thereabout a month for that particular building. But of course, her priority is that of a dress code that would include, of course, jeans and of course, whether it is torn or not, because that's the style today. Well, that could have been done without any utilization of public, should I say, resources to, of course, call a press conference and to treat with that. I think she could have made better use of her time. That being as it may, of course, crime and criminality will continue, of course, to be the speciality of Dr. Khalid. But, of course, we know that there are several things that are happening on that front. The fact that, of course, thousands of young persons, I suspect, would have, between the prison recruitment and that of the police. And then, of course, we had something with respect to the cruise ship. Clearly belies what the government is telling us, that we have a 3%, of course, unemployment situation, but yet still you have thousands of persons turning up for whatever limited jobs that are available. In this case, of course, with the police, I think it's 1,000 persons, and of course, we know what is going to happen. We cannot put it beyond us that, of course, those persons who have PNM oriented connections will, of course, see themselves on top of the pile, so to speak. But that's a speculation. On this program, of course, I prefer not to speculate, but of course tonight I will go into details. Dr. Khalid is here, so I have to be as objective and as analytical as possible with reason. That being as it may, of course, good morning, Dr. Khalid. And as usual, how has been your weekend so far?
Praise God, Lennox. I give God the praise all the time for everything. Praise God, it's been good. Our programs started back. The music class start back again. That is one of the things among others that I'm very proud of, because that is a collaboration with the police and the soldiers and fire officers and prison officers. And we're training young people, which is good. It's something I would be promoting all the time, teaching them to play music, read music, write music. Um, some of them were able to get in the army and things like that, because we need to give our young people different skills, you know. And so music is one of them. So the music class start back and good, and I always would like to commend those volunteers, because those police and soldiers and fire officers, I would not call them, they are given unselfishly.
Yes, indeed.
You know?
Ah, boy. But I mean, in terms, well, we have had before we go to Makela Panday, we have had a situation. Well, we know that now the Panday, should I say, frenzy is behind us. But we have, of course, an existential continuing situation with respect to, of course, crime and criminality. I think is what people have stopped checking already. But we know that there's twice as much murders as there are days in the new year. But what are your general assessment and, of course, your prediction as well? If it is possible to predict, having regard to the rhetorical nature of that question. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to predict, but I'm saying that as long as the situation is like this, without any proper plan and program for our young people, the crime will continue, and the society, in my opinion, this is my opinion, producing criminals. That is a fact. You have a lot of people who tell themselves that, okay, I can't get a job, I can't do this, I can't do that, so therefore they do this. And the thing is, the people who they're coming after is their own people in the area, sometimes their own family too. They're robbing them, they're taking because they believe they don't have, so they don't give a damn who they go after. So as long as they don't come up with a good program, the situation will get worse.
Yes, indeed, and of course, we had, of course, the Panday funeral. We didn't get a chance, of course, to discuss that. So I think you should make your input in terms of how you feel about the whole arrangement, and of course some of the frenzy and some of the probably negatives that would have come out from the whole exercise.
Well, like I said,
Current Tisha, notwithstanding, having a climb, of course, affects to get in here. But
I told somebody with Karen that they just want to use that as a political thing. She said, and I satisfied with her explanation. She was told, she and Ms. Smith was told by the police to pass over the thing. I personally would have ignored what the police said and go over there, because I know the media is always out for us. So I personally would have ignored that advice. That advice I would not take. But I find it's much to do of nothing.
I agree. Much ado about nothing. But is it not significant, because his brother Subhash Panday did in fact say that if he was alive, Panday, that is Basdeo Panday, he would have said, well, in life them women coming at me and in debt as well. They're looking to go over barriers in order to get to witness my presence. Something of that nature. And he was jovial about it.
And especially the opposite. You know what's amazing, Lennox? And I know we have an agreement. We don't try to be too political and this Sunday. But you know what's amazing? I'm always laughing at the PNL. Every opportunity they get to go after Kamla and the UNC, the thing. I would not be surprised if they said Kamla Prasad is responsible for Basdeo Panday death. because the amount of silly things I'm hearing now about Kamla and this and that, they're trying to prove prove that she's so insignificant. So then if she's so insignificant, why you going out of your way to put her down? That means to me she is.
Yes.
If she has a threat.
She's not a low-hanging fruit at
No,
all, but
at all.
low-hanging fruit for those
Right.
who have nothing better,
Right.
but of course feel intimidated or threatened,
and
then therefore she is rife target, so to speak.
right. And those people in the UNC, they're still not playing their politics right. Their politics is to recognize the tricks of the PNM. They have not learned a lesson. They're going after Kamala to divide the party. Next year, God's willing, for heaven's sake, is election. If Rowley don't allow
Call it
his,
before.
yes, because his strategist, because I'm not going to underestimate him at all. Who feel that he's not a good political strategist, they can say that.
Yes.
Okay? But I know all these years in politics must come for something.
Right.
Good. So I'm saying, if you don't call it before, next year's election, concentrate on
yes.
that. Concentrate on pulling the party together. All these, especially some of these young people who don't understand, they are attacking Kamala. Listen, UNC people, Kamala's term will finish soon. If she wins, she will be political leader and prime minister. If she don't win, she would not be able to stay on. By concentrating on Kamala and taking the bait, because that's what they're doing. I'm willing to call name, but I would not. These young people who feel they're so smart and they're not smart, attacking Kamala, and they're taking the PNM bait. Let us concentrate on election next year. We have an election to win.
And what about if for those who are the critics of Kamala and love to of course target her, but we have had no names being bandied out as a replacement, Dr. Khalid.
They don't have a name, Lennox.
So therefore they don't have a leader in mind?
They don't have a leader in mind. Listen, man. Hear what? I'm going to say something now that a lot of people would get mad. But get mad. The opposition party, not just the UNC, opposition party in Trinidad, it has a history of being very fragmented. Whoever is the leader at the top, be it Panday, be it Robertson, be it Dr. Rujanal Kapedia or the late Paris, whoever have real problems in holding it together. Because the way the PNM formed and the way the opposition formed is a different thing. So you need, apart from Basdeo Panday, to me, the next person that could hold the opposition together is Kamala. They could say what they want. Be careful what you ask for, guys. You might get rid of her and then realize you didn't have nothing, you know. And by the time you want to go back to get her, she's not around. Be careful. You need to pull the party together, stay focused, and prepare for an election so the PNM could get some good licks.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
Bottom line. And of course, circulated simultaneously with, of course, that solemn period over the last, let's say, 2 weeks. We had, of course, some videos circulating in social media, etc., about, of course, Basdeo Panday, of course, annoyed, but of course, attacking Kamala, and these suddenly appeared just like that. Well, firstly, who would benefit from that first and foremost in a solemn situation like that? And secondly, whether or not that was a miscalculation.
No, that was no miscalculation. They purposely do that. And the people that benefit is the PNM and the Kamala haters. The Kamala haters, who some of them is PNM too. That is the reality. That is the reality. They fooling themselves and lying to us and saying that they believe in democracy. You do not believe in no democracy. I tell you why I am saying and accusing them of being very, very undemocratic. I'll tell you why. You say you believe in democracy. You have a system in your party that you have an election. But when the person who you don't like win, you find the election is not fair. You call the next election, you get elected again. Like some of them, you get elected 3-4 times, but it still is not fair. So so stop fooling yourself and people and saying that you believe in democracy. You don't. Because you're supposed to go by the rule. I, as the chairman of my group, a lot of times we have a decision on the floor and my people say no. I get outnumbered. I just had to go with it. Now I'm mad like hell. Sometimes I just leave the meeting and I'm gone. But I have to live with it. You have to live with it.
That is what democracy is.
Yes.
You have to face the hard facts.
Good.
And the majority will prevail. And the minority, of course, will participate, will be allowed to participate. But, of course, the majority will prevail in terms of advancing whatever course it is consequential of such an electoral process.
And you would not always have things your way.
Yes.
Sometimes you would, a lot of times you would not. So concentrate. And this is why I'm saying the PNM, you could say what you want about the PNM. That Eric Williams, and let me get you vexed too, that master named Eric Williams who put that PNM together is victorious in life and in death. He know what he put together. He demanded on certain things. And that party have certain principles. They be cussing out each other, but you don't know it. Unless somebody come and tell you. But we cussing out each other. And if we say, well, don't let nobody know, 2 minutes after we say that, we go on and make report.
But before we go to Mark Keller, there's one thing. So does it give credence to the idea that whilst you and I and anybody who is rational would think that that is a prescription for dictatorship? But of course, you have Dr. Rowley will see that level of the optimum leader syndrome as one of stability, and the other aspect of it where people are talking out, they don't see it as the expression of the democratic principle, but within reason. And I agree, you cannot, of course, go out there and wash your dirty linen, but certainly the opportunity to speak, but to speak in such a way that you do not destroy that which you not only are a part of, but that which is the vehicle for advancement. So on the one hand, this dictatorial or optimum leader syndrome, Dr. Rowley said that is the epitome of stability. That is what he says. And then, of course, on the other hand, he sees, of course, people talking out in a party and of course, within reason, as chaos. Your views, and we go straight to Makila.
Okay. Listen. In a party, you have rules. You have rules which are supposed to hold the members.
Hold everybody together.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody's
Right.
supposed to
Right.
abide by the
So
rules.
you have the opportunity to talk.
Right.
But you also have to be mindful that according to what you say outside in public, you could destroy the party and yourself.
Right. So there is where the limit is.
That is the
So
limit.
you can talk,
Yes.
but you must talk in
Good.
such a way that you do not
Yes.
throw the bathtub and the baby with it out,
Wonderful.
or you don't kick the
Good.
can of milk down the road.
And that is what the UNC is doing, because they're going after Kamala. The Kamala haters out there within the PNM.
And they're reckless, they're
And they're
brutal, and
yes,
they are
because
unrelenting. Yeah.
because they can't get away.
That they can't
So
get
they
away.
want to destroy her and blame her for everything. And finally, something I must say. I noticed a certain political leader who's not, thank God he's not on the scene no more, so he said. I won't call him, you should know what I'm talking about.
All right, go ahead.
He-
I get it.
This is the second time he retired. He's
Oh, right. Philip Alexander. All right, good.
Oh, it's him? I didn't even know it's him.
Yeah. It's him, yes.
Him. When this guy was campaigning,
Yeah.
he gave me the impression that Kamala and Gary Griffith were his real opponents, you know. He was attacking them and not the PNM. And that is what a lot of these Kamala haters doing. They're attacking Kamala and not the PNM. Their focus is on her. Because she is in political office. You know she the political she the Prime Minister right now, right?
She Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Sarcasm will get you everywhere here. But let's go straight to Makela and hear what she had to say. In of course, giving that eulogy on her father at of course supper, the Southern Academy for the Performing Arts, and from there of course to the Show of Peace. But we just take Makela's address, and I want you to look at how she was welcoming and who she left out, and whether or not to determine whether or not the bad blood, if you want to call it that, was that an opportunity to, of course, extend that olive branch and to say, well, look, let bygones be bygones. Have a listen.
But this is Basdeo Panday.
There are no secrets. He said everything. Giving our phone number live on television. Our home phone number, that as well.
So that's Basdeo Panday at the funeral of her father, Basdeo Panday.
Your Excellency, President Kangaloo, thank you for that most wonderful tribute. Mr. Kerwin Garcia, Senior Counsel, Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, and Mrs. Sharon Rowley, Honorable Chief Justice and Mrs. Archie, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Members of Parliament, distinguished guests, members of our protective services.
Do you think that Kamala's name should have been called rather than just saying the opposition, having regard to the fact that her father would have been, of course, the founding father of the party that Kamala Persad-Bissessar led, and whether or not she should have been invited as the political leader of the party that her father founded, as distinct from opposition leader, because of the significance of that party to Trinidad and Tobago and the achievements. That's up to you, but let's hear the rest of her presentation, and then, of course, we will do the analysis. Don't forget, of course, you can call us 337-6940, 337-6940, WhatsApp only, and if you want any other assistance that we may be able to give you, well, you can call 336-6594, 336-6594, but the number to get us right now is 337-6940, and we will take your call. But let's hear what I will say Kamala, but of course what Makela had to say.
Sisters and brothers, both here and abroad, good morning. Exactly a month ago, when our family and loved ones traveled abroad, never in a million years did we think our father would not be coming back home to be with us. It wasn't even a thought in our minds because of his sheer will, determination, and fighting spirit with which he lived his life. Anyone that knows him will know that our father has never been someone to complain about anything, because he never wanted anyone to worry about him. He was always cheerful, witty, charming, and charismatic, so you would never know he was not feeling 100%. Up until the last moment, nothing changed. He was always smiling and making everyone around him laugh. I remember a specific time when the doctor came in to see him and said, "Good morning, Mr. Panday. How are you feeling today?" And he replied, "Doc, if I was feeling well, I wouldn't be here." Always full of spirit to the extent that everyone who met him immediately loved him. And so when he left us last Monday, our world shook, never to be the same again. I remember it clearly, like so many others who have lost a loved one. The shock, pain, and disbelief was numbing. But when you grow up, as my sisters and I have, a sense of duty immediately kicks in. Yes, he is our dad, but he did not belong to us alone. He loved people, and people loved him. And so we knew instinctively that although this was one of the most difficult things we were ever going to face in our lives, we had to balance our own grief, looking after our mother, and putting country before self as our father would do. Our father was fearless, honest, strong-willed, disciplined, polite, humble, kind, selfless, hardworking, like no one I have ever known or will ever know. These were the traits that would begin to shine as a young boy into adulthood and eventually define his style of leadership. The arc of his life from rural poverty to political dominance is unrivaled. And he archived this and he achieved this by his unwavering commitment to his core principles. Like his dear friend John Humphrey, and so many others of his era who were his allies, Dad was a forward-thinking visionary, always able to think outside the box, to come up with solutions for seemingly unsolvable problems. Age never slowed him down in this regard. He became energized any time you engaged him in discussions about political, economic, and social issues. He was always willing to listen and to advise when asked. And this continued right up to the end of his life. He was a pioneer who genuinely believed in equality and non-discrimination. And his government's achievements in the 6 years that he was Prime Minister are a testament to that. My father's government introduced the Equal Opportunities Act, the Maternity Protection Act, the Freedom of Information Act, and established the Interim Revenue Stabilization Fund, now known as the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. The dollar-for-dollar program built schools and police stations, paved our roads, provided water and housing, paid off our country's debt to the IMF, and kept crime at its lowest this country has ever seen in recent history. Dad never spoke the language of race, publicly or privately. He was equal in his treatment of everyone, in both his public and private lives. He was a genuine patriot who believed in equality for all. His guiding philosophy was always that the purpose of life is happiness, and happiness is a right of everyone, provided one's happiness does not harmfully impose upon another's. He strove all his life for all of our nation's people to achieve this. Dad was blessed with my dear mom, a devoted wife, and 4 daughters who love him fiercely, and 2 granddaughters who adore their grandpa. He was a great father who supported us in all our choices without ever being judgmental. And while he may not have always been physically present when we were growing up, he was always there when we needed him. He taught us that it is not always about being the best, but about doing your best. And while he taught us to be focused, he also taught us the importance of having a sense of humor, which reminded me of a story when I was younger. My primary school was putting on a Christmas play in Gulf City Auditorium. I would have been about 5 or 6. And I was cast as a snowflake. I really wanted Dad to be there, and he promised me that he would be. So there I was on stage, running around in a circle, and at the same time, trying to look in the audience for Dad when I slipped and fell. Full of embarrassment, I got up and continued with the performance. When the play was finished and the lights went on, I was so ecstatic to see Dad and excited to ask him what he thought about this very important dance. And he said, "Mick, it was great, but that was the first time I ever see a snowflake fall so hard." We hugged and burst out into laughter. That was our Dad. Always there to make you feel better.
Very emotional now, Dr. Khalid.
Forgive me.
I think she had burst into
In his own way.
tears.
Yeah, well.
On behalf of my
That's
mother
final,
and sisters,
final, yes.
I would like to thank absolutely everyone for the enormous outpouring of love and kindness that has been shown to us. We truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words and personal stories you have shared with us over the last week about our Dad. To all those who took time to visit him at the Red House and Sapa while lying in honor, we thank you.
I don't know if I'm going to breach protocol by saying this, but I have to say to Dr. Amory Brown and his team who moved mountains to help bring our Dad back home, and absolutely everyone who worked tirelessly to pull together a state funeral of this magnitude in less than a week. We thank you. And of course, thank you to everyone who came here today to bid him farewell. Above all, thank you, God, for gifting my Dad to all of us in this beloved Twin Island nation. Thank you, Dad, for your unwavering commitment to your country, your people, your family, friends, and loved ones. We will miss you dearly, but never ever forget you. Goodbye, Papa.
Goodbye, Dad.
Yes, indeed. Well, Dr. Khalid, that's it there. More could not have been said. And of course, in a scenario where a state funeral, we got an appreciation as to how it evolved.
Yeah.
And the country literally stood still for about a week or so to, of course, honor this great fallen soldier. I don't know if you have any other comments that you want to add to what was said there. And of course, I know your own experiences and so on, because we said that we're going to look at our own experiences. I did mention some last week, but I just have a couple more this week. But you go ahead.
Yeah, well, I said, as I said last week, I met him like twice, 3 times.
Okay.
Right? Most of what I knew about him would be from close friends like you and my boy and others, right? But when I met him, we shook hands and it was cordial and things like that. I can remember when I was regional manager and in charge of the whole South back 87, 88, somewhere there.
Yeah.
He and I visit a project together, just as Sudama and I visit project together, and he was cordial and we were talking nice and things like that. And he was a people's person.
Yes,
from
indeed.
what I observed, you know.
Well, what I have to add to what I said last week in terms of course, the way in which he made the announcement of my appointment to the board of the Small Business Development Company, where, of course, I met Mr. Amaru face-to-face for the first time because he was made chairman at that time, too, of that particular organization. And I literally got my first stint at public service at that level. And it was as a consequence of a project that we were doing in Mova. Excuse me. That we were doing in Mova. A bit irritant here, boy. Maybe the fan. Could someone turn the fan away from me? No. Could this way. That way towards the monitor. So it will.
So
Yeah, that's. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. And it was as a result of a project that we were doing in Mova, where we were turning cash into trash, or taking taking trash and exchanging it for cash. And as a result of that, it was the then Minister of Trade visited the project, and he said, well, people like you, we need to, in public service. My apology. And then, of course, subsequent to that, the announcement was made, as I said, in that circumstance where he made it very public that I was to be appointed on the board of small business. And I thought I was extremely impressed. Not for the opportunity, but the way it was done, the panache, and of course the realism, because nobody else in Trinidad was doing that kind of thing, taking plastics at the time, PET, they call it, the soft drink bottles and so on, compressing them together, put them in bales, and of course export it. So therefore impacting on the environment in a positive way, but at the same time engaging, of course, in what we didn't know at the time, but now we know, climate change, because when you burn these items, you of course create gases that will contribute to the greenhouse effect, and more significantly, if you bury them, they would take a very long time before they disintegrate, or they of course return to soil, as the case may be. In other words, decomposition was not an option. So that was recognized, and as a consequence, of course, I was made, of course, a director of small business. But he went further, because I was also surprised when he called me to say that I was made a temporary senator to replace a stalwart, a veteran, one of his, what I consider to be serious infantry. Talking about Wade Mark. Yes, Wade Mark went abroad to do something, and therefore I was appointed as the temporary senator to fill that gap until, of course, he returned. And I got the opportunity, of course, to address the Parliament for the first time in the Senate. And from all indications and all the commendations afterwards, I think I did a fairly good job. So those two things I want to, really express my deep appreciation, because it's not often a fella from Laventille, regardless of your qualification, would get an opportunity like that and to be noted. And of course, I was also equally impressed when, of course, he had Archbishop Barbara Gray Burke for a very long time in the Parliament as well, when he was in opposition, and when, of course, he came into government as well. And of course, as a practicing Baptist, the fact that he laid the foundation for the advancement and the equalizing of the Shouter Baptist community as a worthy, viable, and existential religious denominational entity that was, of course, deprived of their right to vote. Sorry, not the right to vote, but the right to worship in an environment that says that it is cosmopolitan. And that too, I remember him for. Of course, there are other issues that are generic, like take, for instance, the reduction in crime and criminality, and they were prepared to listen to persons like myself, being, of course, a criminologist by profession, of course. And there were a number of other issues that I would want to, that I thought worthy of this final program to, of course, conclude the influence of Basdeo Panday over people like myself and you. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Dr. Khalid?
Well, all I have to say, like, yes, he made a great impact, and people like us, we thank God for him and his contribution, and we need to really continue that work.
Thank you.
Yeah, we need to continue his work, because something that human does is that we recognize people when they're dead, and
Posthumously.
yes, and when they're alive, we put a whole set of pressure on them.
Yes, yes.
But when they're dead, we find the best things to say that we didn't want to say when they were alive.
Yeah, well, I see they're haggling over what should be his lasting legacy in terms of honoring him. But of course, I don't believe naming the airport or anything like that. I think there should be some fund set up, particularly in the area of education.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe you want to call it the Basdeo Panday Fund. I know that one of the Hindu schools have already, of course, Shiva. They have withdrawn that name, and they have, of course, replaced it with the Basdeo Panday Secondary School, as the case may be. Yes. You know?
Yeah.
Yes. So, people, we are being served in studio as well, you know, with little throat wetters in order to moisten the throat so that we can talk more fluently. But one thing I thought that Makela left out in terms of his achievements legislatively and impacting on the society is that of the Equal Opportunities Commission. She did not mention that one, but that is significant because it has, of course, equalized and regularized and make persons who are discriminatory, particularly the state, recognize that they can no longer, with the presence of that piece of legislation, and a person is so willing to seek redress, they can go to that commission and, of course, say, I have been discriminated against because I'm from Laventille. I've been discriminated against because of the texture of my hair. I've been discriminated against because I have a disability, in spite of my qualification, and maybe qualification better and, of course, more, should I say, powerful than any of my competitors. So for that, and of course, the other one would be, of course, the Integrity Commission, which, of course, would lead us to the next discussion here this morning, as far as, of course, the discussions are concerned. So I think we have exhausted that. Yeah. So let us not harp and we move on. So, Dr. Khalid, the Integrity Commission dismissed an application for investigation of Dr. Rowley on the way and the benefits that he would have derived from a property, a townhouse that he would have acquired in Tobago. The property is called Ironers Gate, the development. And they dismissed it on the basis of, one, that while he did not declare the property on his Form A, no, his Form B, but he declared it on his Form A1, and that while it was a gift, because he paid for it less than everybody else, and whilst the difference would have been a gift of about something in the vicinity of about $300,000 or something like that, they didn't see it as a gift in his capacity as Prime Minister, even though he was Prime Minister at the time when he got the gift. You understand that? And so here it is. That occurred, they dismissed it. But there was another application to them to look at another matter. And the matter is his association with the Warners and the contracts that they would have gotten suddenly all over Tobago and, of course, in Trinidad as well. And there appeared to be a nexus between both. So that made it 2 times while he's Prime Minister. He has been, of course, been subjected to the investigative mandate of the Integrity Commission. And when he was in opposition, when he was not Prime Minister, in other words, he was also subjected to investigation by the Integrity Commission. And everybody knows about, of course, the infamous, or the famous, if you want to call that, Landate matter. So the first question to you, Dr. Khalid. How Dr. Rowley is so damn unfortunate. Outside of government, inside of government, Prime Minister investigated by the entity that was, of course, established by Basdeo Panday and, of course, Robinson to look at misbehavior and greed and avarice in public life. And, of course, at the highest level, the executive level, Dr. Rowley has acquired that position and yet still subject to what I consider the scrutiny of the Integrity Commission. I want you to answer that first before. Is that he's unfortunate? Is it that, as he said, he's being politically victimized by political adventurers who, of course, are not sincere about the applications that were made to the Integrity Commission, even though the Integrity Commission said that he did in fact receive a bribe, but it was not in his capacity as Prime Minister. And therefore, was that justified or not justified in being, of course, forwarded into the Integrity Commission for investigation? Quite apart from the Warner matter that is before the court, before the Integrity Commission now. There's a court matter that I am going to refer to after. Is he, what, he's sour? He unfortunate? Is he, how come he? Why not another minister? What? Dr. Khalid?
I don't think he's unfortunate or sour. I think what it is his attitude is attitude. If you have a don't give a damn attitude and you say what you want to say whenever, wherever, you will always find yourself in certain things.
So you're saying that his recklessness and his brutal use of power, of office, has put him in the public's gaze that would attract the public to, of course, find out from the Integrity Commission what has happened here. Right. And of course, we just mentioned the Basdeo House, for example. So, is he the cause of the not just suspicion, but the requirement of those who are observing, particularly those opposed to the PNM, to do what is required in order to have him account for all of these, what may be discrepancies, or should I say unsavory, or matters that are connected to him that are of a corrupt nature?
Because I mentioned the word because of his attitude, and you said recklessness,
Yes.
which I endorse that word,
Right.
recklessness. If you look at what a lot of people want to forget, that when he was opposition leader, he's the one who went to Parliament. Remember the memo about Kamala involved in all this crime and all kind of thing?
Yes.
This was-
The email gate.
Email
Gate
gate.
scenario.
God.
So he doesn't want those scrutiny or those accusation for himself, but he don't mind, of course, accusing others,
But,
whether they be as far-fetched as they turned out to be.
No, but you use the word far-fetched, but I will be a little brutal, even though you're lying, because it was not truth.
All
And
right.
all the Kamala haters and they who was wishing for it to be truth had to be silent now because it was not truth.
That's right.
So I'm
Yes.
saying if you go out of your way, okay, you see, people need to stop taking things personal. We are political enemies, but we're not enemies. I don't
Right.
hate you.
Right.
But if you want to translate that being a political enemy to something into hate, which she did.
Yeah,
You
of course.
wanted
I think
this-
Manning told him that as well, that
Right.
he has too much hate, and that's why he is so
Good.
irrational. But go
Good.
ahead, yes.
And he go after his opponent in a certain way. Go ahead.
Let's go straight, of course, to the lines. Let's go straight to the lines.
Yeah, Lennox,
A
morning.
pleasant good night. A pleasant,
You,
a pleasant good morning.
I,
Go ahead,
I'm
go
calling
ahead.
to give me a contribution on Makilia. Makilia ready yet for leadership in Lennox.
All right.
Yeah, she ready.
All right.
I know that. You see how she treat Kamalani?
Yeah.
She ready. Yeah, I like that.
At least, she could have at least.
Yeah.
It looked as though she was forced. She was reluctant, but because of protocol, she had to mention that. Otherwise, it would be so obvious. But yet, still, it was still obvious, even though it was a half pig duck acknowledgement. Yeah.
Yeah. And you see, if she did make them highlight the opposition, that would have raised the party which she fought for. So that is that to show you she had thinking.
Yeah.
She
And she
thinking.
even mentioned the party itself. She didn't even say, well, the founder
Yeah.
in her address, because she just didn't want to give anybody any credit or attract any kudos for Kamala. But that's how it is.
Thank
She
you.
would have had to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay then.
Yes. That caller, Dr. Khalid. I mean, it make a lot of sense.
He hit the nail on the
And
head.
head, yeah, because
Let-
she
let-
would have had to say something about
Right.
Kamala now.
Listen.
If she had to
Listen.
praise the party,
Yes.
she'd have to say
A
something
lot of
about
them
Kamala.
who want to bandy the word democracy about,
Yes.
they ain't ready yet.
Yeah.
Because they're too small. They're not. Their mind is
Broad-minded
not
enough.
broad-minded enough. Kamala defeated Basdeo Panday fair and square. Regardless of how you feel that okay, Panday did give her some help and brought her into the party and she shouldn't oppose him, fine, but you have a democracy. And anyone who meet the age and the one to could offer themselves up for leadership.
Yeah.
That is the agreement. So she went up against him. He was defeated. A lot of people, including the deceased Basdeo Panday himself, was angry with Kamala. Michaela and a lot of the others, they were mad. And they went around like if she had a coup, like she brought some people in with guns and threw him out of office when it was done democratically. And the PNM play into that. And Michaela and others who continuing with this childishness don't realize they're playing into the hands of the PNM.
Yeah. And of course, it must be said that Mr. Panday's political terminal and his replacement was one that any objective thinker would see that it was justifiable. Because remember, he was mired in these court matters of a criminal nature, and the party was being, of course, solid. Let's not forget that the party was being taken over the coals. The party was being disgraced. The party was being degraded and, of course, eroded. And one would have thought that that would have been its uppermost consideration. And while, of course, I would have appreciated deeper discussion, but it ought to have been initiated by Panday because he was in the quagmire, set up and coordinated and nurtured and manufactured by the PNM. We know that. But we couldn't know it then, as we did not know then when Rowley presented those emails in the parliament. Any objective thinker would say, well, boy, if these things are true, as of course Rondon had said, that is a game changer. Of course, having gotten, of course, the ambassadorship, he no longer, of course, sees it as a game changer, and its principle that Rowley must go once, of course, he was wrong. No longer is the case. But the fact of the matter is that at the time when it was unfolding, you have to put yourself in that situation. You have to be nostalgic. You have to be, but not anachronistic. You do not want, of course, to take the past and make it equally present. But certainly, what you want is to understand the circumstances, the environment at the time, the ecology at the time. And so, Panday had a duty, if I was him, to, of course, talk with Kamala and the leadership then, rather than taking a strong arm approach. And now that what had to happen occurred, you are offended. So I wanted to put it in perspective. I don't want anybody. Yes, a great man. I love him. I loved him. But the fact of the matter is that that is a flaw that ought not to have occurred. Because he figured that he was bigger than that which he created for everyone. And the dynasty that he was talking about, well, never manifested itself. And no one should be angry. And in fact, I think all know, Michaela and they should be extending olive branches to see if they can mend. But it is the family, it's Michaela and they to, of course, lead the charge, lead the initiative, because Kamala have not said anything and has been always in praise and respectfully so of Panday. So it's they have to do it. And we saw it, of course, manifesting itself. The antagonism and the animosity continued in the eulogy of Makela.
Okay. But let me look at something with the PNM.
Go ahead.
And the way the PNM treated Manning. Look at the attitude towards the Manning and the way Manning family respond. Manning's son is in his cabinet.
Yes, is in cabinet now. Yeah. Over time. Yes.
Manning's wife never played no set a role in attacking him publicly, but she must have been angry.
Yes.
The way they treated Manning.
Yes, and she expressed that.
Yes.
We know, and it's natural.
Good.
Yeah, because she avoided attending certain should I say, rejected certain invitations for public appearance because of that scenario. And even at Manning's funeral, that there was, of course, this tense scenario. And so much so that Rowley was not invited at Manning's home.
Wonderful. All right.
Was not.
Good.
Because it was, Weiss, of course, she didn't say it, but it was public knowledge that they didn't want him there.
Good.
They didn't want Rowley there. But today, Brian Manning is now, of course, a minister in that cabinet, and of course, and a senior one at that in terms of the position, assisting in the Ministry of Finance.
Good. So the thing is...
So what's the difference here?
Good. The thing is, sometimes you just have to be grown up enough to accept certain reality and move in a positive way to do things for the betterment of Trinidad and Tobago and the party that you're in. That is what you have to do. And all of them who want to go and sully the chances of the UNC to be in office next year by attacking Kamala, and I heard a young man that, just talking emotional, that that Kamala should go for Michaela. Michaela is a bright young lady, but as they caller said just now, she ain't ready yet.
She ready yet. Yes,
No,
indeed.
that's a fact. I am one who almost always promote young people and encourage them and things like that, give them a position and things, but she ain't ready yet.
You're ready yet.
And all who feel you could pull Kamala down, go and, as I always say, Lennox, beat her in an internal election. If you could, since you want to call this leader and you continue with this childishness, call this leader and call this one, beat her. If you beat her in an election, I will be the first to say, okay, then yes, she must go.
All right. So let's move on to the recent development now. Rowley versus the Integrity Commission. He castigated the Integrity Commission. He said that they were politically motivated. We see that it was a bout of hypocrisy. He's seen in others that which is, should I say, not in him. He is asking others to do that which he will not do because he has been, of course, up in the Integrity Commission's face, especially with the emails, fake emails, false emails, concoction of his imagination, and was recommended that the Integrity Commission, in fact, view the matter because he knew that he had already spoken to the chairman then, Ken Gordon, and he also knew, we know now, he also knew that Ventor, the vice chairman, was there too. And that is why he wanted the Integrity Commission to look at it. See how dangerous this man is from the beginning. From the beginning in opposition. And watch me. It is so bizarre that the very Ventor, a former judge, who was the vice chairman of the Integrity Commission then, when the email matter was being considered, and was dismissed by the Integrity Commission by a majority. He resigned and come out and say that he was dissatisfied with the way how the matter was handled and that they should be talking about the contents of the emails that were not emails. That is how mad these people are. And today, the same Ventor is now, of course, the single commissioner for a commission of inquiry that has already consumed over $11 million, and then they didn't turn a piece of paper yet for the highway to Point Fortin and the acquisition of the properties. Another figment of Dr. Rowley's pernicious imagination that will again fail. Again fail. Because the whole you dig for others, especially when it is unrighteous, it is unholy, it is wicked, it is vindictive, it is of course pernicious, it is of course malicious. You will fall in it. And Rowley and they keep falling in their own filth all the time. They're digging cesspool after cesspool and they're falling in it. So I thought it was important, of course, to look at that. And I'm saying that in the context of the present situation where Rowley has found himself having to attack this same Integrity Commission that he relied on some time ago because it is not in his favor. They mustn't investigate. He must do wrong and he mustn't be investigated because somehow he is prime minister, and prime minister means that he is similar to Moses, or he is of course equal to some kind of God.
Scrutiny.
Yeah, above scrutiny. That man is totally mad. Totally mad. He's a lunatic. But of course the recent situation, Dr. Khalid, is that the activists went to court to have judicial review of the decision by the Integrity Commission to absolve Rowley and not take the matter to the DPP, which they had a duty so to do, having regard to the fact that they said that he took a bribe, but it wasn't because he was prime minister. They are saying, and the court, of course, has given, of course, Balgobin, the activists, to pursue judicial review because they are satisfied that he has a case that may be successful, and that therefore they grant him the right to seek judicial review, and for the first time to investigate the Integrity Commission as to how they come up with that decision. Dr. Khalid.
Yeah, yes, it's amazing, Lennox.
It's amazing.
Yeah, how they keep on doing these things. And I think they will continue doing it as long as the public allow them to do it.
Or as long as they're in public office.
As long as they're in public office.
Yes.
Once they're in public office, they have everything at their disposal.
Yes, and they're going to abuse it,
good.
and they're going to engage in this kind of bizarre behavior that we're seeing.
And
totally
then,
undemocratic and undermined.
Too, you have a very active PNM party, especially the woman's arm.
Yes.
You see how the woman's arm start attacking the UNC and Kabla, or play too much politics with Basdeo Panday death. But then the woman's arm promoted the play the politics with Manning death.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and more than that,
Yeah.
I wonder who would benefit from those videos that highlighting Panday criticizing Kamla Prasad Bisesa. I wonder who.
Well,
You PNM,
yeah,
your petticoat and your underwear are exposed.
right.
We catch you with your pants down,
But
and there's no way you can escape culpability. Go ahead.
In addition to that, the UNC members who send all this information and put them out there to make Canada look bad, they didn't realize that they're working either consciously or unconsciously with the PNM.
And therefore for the PNM.
For the PNM.
Yes, that's right. So, the final matter on that particular subject, the judicial review, is that in the public domain there is the perception, and reasonably so, that the drastic reduction in the funding for the Integrity Commission is as a consequence of Dr. Rowley's vindictiveness. I believe that he, as Prime Minister, must be above investigation. So, the monies that were being allocated under the UNC and coming down now to present time, 80 million, 60 million, 50 million, and today it's 20 million, to the point where the Integrity Commission has now taken the Ministry of Finance and therefore the government to court for, of course, poor funding or drastically reducing funding. What's your view on that? The Integrity Commission, take them to court, because Rowley is trying to say that the Integrity Commission doesn't have any integrity, and that they are too amenable to politically motivated questions that are being asked about public officials, and especially about him. What's your view on that? Should they be the victim of the executive women fancy and beating them into, of course, saying, do not look at anything that the PNM and the government under Dr. Rowley that would have been brought to your attention as misbehavior or abuse of public office, inclusive of corruption?
Yeah, of course, that exactly is what it is. What you have described it, that's exactly what it is. Do as I say, but not as I do.
As I do.
Yeah, that's what it is. So he attack everybody else when he's opposition leader now. They must do, because he's monarch of all I survey.
He's monarch of all I survey. I like how you put that. But of course, recently we have had recruitment of, I say, thousands, police service, the prison service, and of course prior to that we had, of course, a cruise ship, Caribbean cruise, I believe it is, that of course were recruiting in Trinidad. Thousands of young people in particular. Obviously, in the case of the police, you have to have 5 CXC, so it's bright people we're talking about minimum in order for you to get there. But of course, how do you mesh that up or equate that or compare that with the statement made by the Minister of Finance that we have 3% unemployment and almost therefore no unemployment, but yet still those are the kinds of numbers we are seeing turning up for limited space jobs.
Right.
Only 1,000, but 5,000 and 6,000 may well turn up.
No, well, it's amazing when they make this kind of statements. They make this kind of statement knowing that their machinery will cover up for them.
What the propaganda machinery?
Yes.
Okay.
But they can't escape the reality, and they have a whole set of unemployment. I am surprised as how many is that turn up.
Going up on a 5,000 for a 1,000 job. Job opportunity.
I'm surprised that 10,000, 20,000 in turn up.
Well, it may be because I think they have another session because they're going in. They're going. Well, they said that the police are more organized than the prison because they're going in by I think surname alphabet.
Yes.
Yeah. So today maybe one period or one alphabetic group, maybe A to let's say maybe D, and then of course they do it down the road. So it is clear that they too, the administrators of that particular exercise, know to what to expect, and therefore they have prepared themselves by limiting, of course, the amount of people to come at any one time. That's all.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, and therefore belies the notion that there is a 3% unemployment. Dr. Rowley and Lucky, tonight I will say what I had to say, but for this purpose and because of the Sunday program, I would only say that Dr. Rowley and you have been eclectic or you have been economical with the truth. Tonight I will say what I mean by that. Right, but I suppose those of you who know me will know what I intend to say. So, Khalid, any closing remarks on that particular matter? Because I want to go to a final one before, of course, we close. It's already 9:58.
Yes.
Yes. So.
No, well, no, we could go on.
Okay, great. The other issue that is, of course, at the forefront today is more a regional one. Here it is. There is an announcement that the Galleon Passage is to be used in a tri-nation arrangement in a subgroup of CARICOM, Trinidad, Guyana, Barbados, and I think Grenada may well be involved. But the Galleon Passage has been committed based on what the Prime Minister said at the cutting of the ribbon for the opening of the Phoenix Park Industrial Estate in Point Lisas.
Right.
And to me, that is troubling because we were told that the 17 or so million US dollars that was paid for that boat, they took it even though it was not appropriate, even though it was a waste of money, and even if they know that it would not be appropriate for the sea bridge between Port of Spain and Scarborough, but they took it anyway because of the shorter distance that it will eventually have to travel when deployed between Togo and Tobago. You know what I say?
Yeah.
I said between Togo and Tobago, and there was a port to be built. What now is happening to you? Cannot tell us that you are going to deploy that for that reason as part of a sub-regional CARICOM transportation issue and not tell us what has happened to the plan with respect, of course, the original plan with respect, of course, to Togo port and, of course, Tobago, and that vessel being used for that purpose because of all of the arguments that they had advanced. Dr. Khalid.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, Lennox. It's ridiculous. And it seems like they have the habit of getting a whole set of vessels for Tobago, and it's not working.
That's not working, right? And would it be correct, because that is my view, that is my considered view, would it be correct to say that now they have, 5 vessels for Tobago. 1, 2, 3, yes. The 2 new ones, the Spirit, and then 4, and of course the Guardian Passage. And that is an overkill.
What about the APT?
But that's what the
All right.
APT, the Bokurif, of course, and the old ferry that working probably better than the new ones, because at least they have that you could rest back with that. You have adjustable seats. On the new ones you don't have that. But that being as it may, you have that, the Spirit, and you have the Spirit, and then you have the Guardian Passage. So is it a situation where it is such an overkill, and they have no intention, of course, of pursuing the port in Toko, and they have an excess vessel on their hands? They want to justify by generating a new narrative that's sounding logical, that's sounding reasonable, that they want to deploy it in this new arrangement, and they're probably glad for it because it's an opportunity, of course, to get rid of that vessel and do it in a quasi reasonable or justifiable way by changing the narrative altogether and say that, of course, it is needed for transporting food and, of course, people within the region having regard, of course, to food security. Dr. Khalid, you could count on the PNM to establish some very elaborate, sounding good, specious, sophistry, sounding good, sounding nice to bad, but always with some, not just subliminal, for people like me, overt, devious, malicious, and evil intent. Waste of $17 million. That is what that is. Dr. Khalid.
Yeah, well, I agree. I don't have to elaborate everything. I endorse exactly what you said.
Yes, indeed. But people, of course, well, we have come to the end. Dr. Khalid, your closing remarks?
Well, my closing remark is it's always a pleasure to come here every Sunday and serve you all and get your cooperation. And next week, God's willing, we'll be here again with God's help.
Yes, indeed. And of course, this government, with the profligacy, the waste, the mismanagement, and the misappropriation of resources, even ideas and policies, certainly are taking us back to basics. And I think we could end appropriately with that tune. If we can't get that, well, at least we could, of course, end with Nelson, because it's about lies, lies, lies. It's about that.
Was a big lying competition to see who they will crown as lying champion. Liars from all parts of the West Indies.
Yes, indeed, people. It is clear that Dr. Rowley and his minions have taken the cake. And if lying really was Pinocchio oriented, Rowley would have already had a nose that could fit around the globe. Around the globe. Not just from here to Tobago, but around the globe. First that man could lie. Let's see, of course, Nelson, as he expressed that scenario in song.
To give him a hand, you hear lie? That is lie. Lie? You hear lie?
What you said? He beat back who?
Lion the liar.
Lion the liar. Yes, indeed. So, Dr. Khalid, thank you, of course, for joining me. And, of course, we see tonight, don't forget tonight, at 8 o'clock, the corridor transformation, and, of course, tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mikey, and myself, as we continue, of course, with these and other topics. Thank you for being such a good audience, and I know that there are others who are waiting, of course, to view the video. Have a wonderful rest of the day until we meet tonight at 8 o'clock. Bye-bye.
Hit this spot. I was hoping you did believe it or not. The fish your father caught, to you it was great. But it's them small fish my father does use for bait. Lion went ahead on points in the show. Completely eliminated Mr. Depot. The next man to beat was really outrageous. He asked the judges if he could lie first. The judges asked Lion. The Lion agreed. Say any topic we'll pick is alright with me. He outrageous, I strong. Let we meet head on. And when we done, see who head fit to wear the crown. You hear lie? That is lie. Lie? You hear lie?
Teacher Percy say if you tell a lie, you go into hell as soon as you die.
Let it go. Let it go. Shook it up. Yeah. The outrageous say that he knew a tailor comes to making suit. The man is the master. If you show him a man coming wrong a corner, he could make him a suit and don't even measure. A talking about suit, sitting down correct, expertly made and fitting perfect. He used to sew for Shakespeare, make suit for Hamlet, and up to this day yet make a mistake yet. You know the crowd went wild, they couldn't cool down. As a liar, the lion losing the crown. The judges brought the crowd back to order and asked the lion to lie about a tailor. He said, my man is the best, Rolf is his name. Cutting cloth, making suit is his game. Don't show him the man, my tailor is class. Just show him the corner where the fella pass, and he gon' make a suit. That is tailor, you hear lie? King liar.
Teacher Percy say if you tell a lie, you go into hell as soon as you die.